Good afternoon. Welcome to Tribune News on Q, your go-to afternoon news source, only here at Daily Tribune. We're live on Daily Tribune's Facebook page, Daily Tribune page on YouTube, and Daily Tribune Official on TikTok. For today's headlines. Attorney Neil Abayon, counsel for Attorney Manasseh Manscarpio, said the SEC and Insurance Commission were included in their complaint against the AMLC and the House lawmakers over the presentation of Carpio's bank transactions. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. brushed aside Senator Amy Marcos's claim about an alleged no-election scenario in 2028. DILG Secretary John Vicremulia appealed to Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa to surrender amid the ICC arrest warrant against the latter. The Office of the Ombudsman said former Senate President Francis Chis Escudero has submitted his counter-affidavit in response to the allegations linking him to the multi-billion peso flood control scandal now under preliminary investigation. The Bureau of Fire Protection Region 3 on Friday said rescuers recovered another body from the rubble of a collapsed 9-story building in Angeles City, Pampanga, raising the death toll to 6. The Department of Agriculture is drafting the implementing rules and regulations for Executive Order Number 116, which raises the minimum access volume allocation for pork imports. Rain or shine and Barangay Ginebra returned to Smart Araneta Coliseum to tip the balance of a heated and tied semi-final series in Game 5 of the PBA. Actress Clea Pineda called out an online basher after receiving a disturbing, brief tear, posting the remark on Facebook before later deleting it. Today is May 29, 2026, Friday, and I'm Louisse Kalingag, bringing you today's top stories. Let's get started. Attorney Neil Abayon, a lawyer of Attorney Manasseh Manscarpio, said that the Securities and Exchange Commission and the Insurance Commission were included in their complaint against the AMLC and salons from the House of Representatives for the presentation of Carpio's bank transactions during the impeachment proceedings against Vice President Sara Duterte. Abayon clarified that their complaint was not meant to derail the impeachment and was only intended to seek criminal liability for violating the Anti-Money Laundering Act. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. brushed aside Senator Amy Marcos's claim about an alleged no-election scenario in 2028. Marcos appeared surprised by his sister's allegation of a plot to suspend upcoming national elections to extend his term. He was about to board the presidential plane for his 4-day state visit to Japan when he stopped after being asked about the alleged efforts to prevent the 2028 national elections from being held.
Your critics, particularly your sister, Senator Amy Marcos, are accusing you of conniving with the House of Representatives and Senate for a constitutional assembly that would extend her term via no election scenario. You already addressed this earlier, Mr. President, by means of a facial expression only. May we officially get an explanation or comment on this issue? And can you elaborate on that eye roll?
I don't know. I mean, she should fire her staffer who gave her that information. Because, you know, that fake news hurts everyone. Not only those that fake news is attacking, but also those who are purveying that fake news. The purveyors of fake news are also damaged by this kind of. So she should choose her sources of information that. Because the truth of the matter is, we have never at any point even spoken about this anywhere with anyone at any time. So I don't know. I mean, it is, well, that's, kayo, nasa media kayo. Alam naman ninyo ang nagiging epekto ng fake news. Yeah, that's a perfect example. Fake news is a corrosive influence on all in all sectors of society, in political, in economics, in actual human relations, etc. And if you're not part of the solution, you become part of the problem. And that is a perfect example of that.
Your critics
Interior and Local Government Secretary John Vic Remulla appealed to Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa to surrender amid the ICC arrest warrant against the latter. In an interview with reporters in Camp Carengal in Quezon City on Friday, Remulla said law enforcement search for the senator so far has failed to find him but added that there are always leads and that the whole 225 police force, 1,000 police force is searching for him across the country. Please surrender, Remulla said when asked for his appeal to De La Rosa. The Office of the Ombudsman said former Senate President Francis Cheese Escudero submitted his counter affidavit in response to the allegations linking him to the multi-billion peso flood control scandal now under preliminary investigation. Assistant Ombudsman Miko Clavano said the complaints involving possible plunder and graft charges against Escudero remain in the preliminary investigation stage. Clavano explained that respondents are required to answer allegations once the Ombudsman completes the fact finding phase of its investigation. Escudero has denied any wrongdoings. The Bureau of Fire Protection Region 3 on Friday said rescuers recovered another body from the rubble of a collapsed 9-story building in Angeles City, Pampanga, raising the death toll to 6. The body, believed to be male, was retrieved around 12:40 a.m. during search and rescue operations and was found pinned under heavy debris, authorities said. The victim remains unidentified. The remains were turned over to the Department of Health for identification and proper handling. Authorities said 14 people remain missing while 26 others have been rescued since the building collapsed on 24 May. The Department of Agriculture is drafting the implementing rules and regulations for Executive Order No. 116, which raises the minimum access volume allocation for pork imports as the government moves to stabilize food prices and address supply shortages. Agriculture Secretary Francisco Chu Laurel Jr. said the DA has been instructed by President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. to lead consultations with hog raisers, meat processors, and lawmakers to ensure the policy balances consumer welfare with the protection of the local swine industry. The move comes as the government faces mounting inflation risks triggered by rising global oil prices amid the conflict involving the United States, Israel, and Iran. Higher fuel costs have increased transport, logistics, and food expenses, raising concerns over another surge in headline inflation. The Philippines shares closed lower with the benchmark PSEI falling 54.52 points or 0.93% to 5,805.42, while the broader oil shares index declined 0.65% to 3,286.32. Investor sentiment remained weak as most sectoral indices ended in negative territory. The industrial sector posted the steepest drop, shedding 1.05% following waste services, which fell 2.19%. Property and holding firms also slipped by 0.62% and 0.23%, respectively, reflecting cautious trading across key sectors. Meanwhile, financials and mining and oil managed to buck the downtrend. Financials rose to 0.34%, while mining and oil gained 0.43%, supported by selective buying in resource and banking stocks. Back on equal ground, Rainer Shine and Barangay Ginebra returned to Smart Araneta Coliseum to tip the balance of a heated and tied semifinal series in the Game 5 of the Philippine Basketball Association Season 50 Commissioner's Cup. Bad blood started to boil in this emotional series when Elasto Painters head coach Yang Biao and Kings Governor Al Francis Chua figured in a shouting match in the final stretch of Game 4, making the 7:30 p.m. main game an action-packed encounter. Rainer Shine halted a two-game skid with a dominating 97-85 victory last Wednesday to even the best of seven series of 2-2. Clea Pineda did not let a hateful message from an online basher slide. Pineda reposted a disturbing message on her Facebook account where the basher allegedly wished that she would be abused. She has since deleted the post. I'm already used to criticism being thrown at me at this point, but some people are getting way too comfortable with their words. Nobody deserves to be on the receiving end of their jokes like this, Pineda wrote. Showing support for Pineda, her rumored girlfriend Janela Salvador reposted on her Instagram stories the official statement from the queer film Open Endings, which also condemned the threats and sexual harassment directed at the actress. Katribu, did you know on May 29, 1896, Cesar Bengzon, the first Filipino to be appointed to the International Court of Justice of the United Nations, was born in Camiling, Tarlac. A few months before his retirement in November 1966 as Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, Bengzon was admitted to the ICJ, commonly referred to as the World Court, which is the primary judicial organ of the United Nations that settles legal disputes submitted to it by states. And our word of the day is force majeure. Amid efforts to amend Senate rules to allow senators to participate in plenary sessions through conferencing, Senator Robin Padilla cited force majeure as a possible basis for the proposed changes. Force majeure is defined as an event or effect that cannot be reasonably anticipated or controlled. This includes war, calamities, terrorist attacks, health crises such as pandemic, and civil unrest. Now viral with over 900,000 views is a clip of a family surprising a father on his 60th birthday, but instead of giving him a gift for himself, they gave him sacks of pet food as he finds joy in feeding stray animals. That is all for now. Join us again at 4:30 p.m. still here on Daily Tribune's Facebook page, Daily Tribune PH on YouTube, and Daily Tribune Official on TikTok. Once again, I'm Louise Kalingag, and this has been Tribune News on Q.